I've seen it all the way through my practice, where women, because of their sexuality, because they might be gay women, women who, because they, they are, it's that business where there was an expectation when I started doing domestic violence killings, where a woman might end up killing the man who'd abused her for years. If she was somebody who was not some mouse of a woman and who was meek and docile, then they didn't want to believe that she was someone who had been long-term abused. And that question of why didn't she leave? And if the woman held down a job, or she was, I was in a taxi not that long ago, and the taxi driver said to me, "I know you." He said, "I was on a jury in a case of yours at the Old Bailey." And now we're not supposed to ever talk to jurors about cases or anything of that sort. And I played by the rules, but I didn't stop him talking. and he said to me, he said, it was women on the jury who were being very hard on your client. They didn't want to acquit her. And I said, "Oh, really?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "And it was partly because your client was very vivacious, and they found it hard to believe that she would and they thought that she was a flirt. They thought that she was the sort of woman that would provoke her husband." I mean, the idea that you provoke your husband into battering hell out of you, it was so interesting. And we've got to understand that at the base of all of this, as we know, is we're in a society in which patriarchal power is still around. But the business of misogyny has got to be understood. And as you know, I was asked to come and do a report for the Scottish Parliament, and it was on that whole issue of it was after the business of the hate crime bill, not including anything on women at all in the end, and the outrage that Scottish women across the board felt about being excluded from a bill that was supposed to be dealing with the ways in which all manner of people experienced particular forms of hatred. And the business of misogyny has to be understood, and I'm afraid that the police do not understand it, and most men don't understand it. Well, first of all, because men will say to you, I don't hate women. I like women. I just don't like lesbians, or I don't like feminists. I can't stand feminists, they'll say. Loudmouthed women that are always going on about, and you realize that, we have to stand together and say, hatred of any of us is a form of hatred, and we know that feeds into a system of sustaining ideas and stereotypes of how women ought to be, and we're not going to refuse to conform to those things. And women will be in all our differences and all of our original ways of being and our humanity. And so just shove off. We're not having that. And we've got to define misogyny as being about a sense of entitlement, about a sense of male primacy, and not don't get locked into hate or not hate, because hating any of us is enough for me. And so we really did try to then look at, how do you shift the dial, instead of it always being that women are examined, when they make complaints about what happens to them, and they start looking about, did she bring it on her own head, or what was she wearing, and what was she doing, and what did she say, and somehow justifications are found, located in the woman, and rather than concentrating on what was he thinking about, why was he saying to her, and the evidence that we heard. And I do think that some of this has actually become much worse.